And when we continue, real men don't rehearse, according to author Justin Locke. Justin Locke spent 18 years as a professional freelance bassist in Boston and has now written a book, Real Men Don't Rehearse, Adventures in the Secret World of Professional Orchestras. And Justin Locke is here. Welcome.
Well, thank you very much for having me here.
Good to have you. So I've read through this all, and it's a lot of fun, and a lot of it is tongue-in-cheek, but I have to ask you right off, what do you mean by the fact that real men don't rehearse?
Well, first of all, I apologize for the somewhat sexist nature of the title. I think there's a mythology out there that musicians like in the pops are rehearsing for weeks and weeks at a time in order to get the level of perfection and quality that you hear. And in fact, the people who get to that level of playing are so good individually that rehearsing is almost redundant in that culture. And we have a certain kind of machismo about it, that we can play this perfectly the first time. So
well, you made a good argument about that, about how people are so accomplished in their individual instrument that then they read music so well. But I actually called somebody in the orchestra today and I said, how many hours a day do you rehearse? How many, and I know that's a question that comes up all the time. And he said, actually, under Levine, it's 4 days a week, 2.5 hours at a clip. So that's pretty substantial, no?
Well, certainly the symphony is a little more serious, playing
more
more
rigorous.
difficult music, and it's a more serious operation. So yes, they do rehearse.
Yeah.
But in pops,
So you
it's a
only
little
did the
different.
pops?
Yes, I only subbed in the symphony a few times.
Yeah.
I was mostly a freelance player playing in the Boston pops and around town as well. And the stories are about those other orchestras too.
And I love, because everybody asks this question, and I actually already knew the answer, but I'm going to ask you anyway.
Okay.
What's the difference between the Boston Symphony Orchestra and the Boston Pops and the Boston Pops Esplanade?
Well, there's the really long answer, but we don't have time for that, so I'll try to be succinct. The Boston Symphony and the Boston Pops are essentially the same musicians. The principal players of the Boston Symphony don't play pops, but other than that, it's the same people. Now, halfway through the pop season, the Boston Symphony/Pops players go to Tanglewood, but there's a demand for Pops concerts going through the 4th of July. So the local freelance musicians, who are extremely qualified and talented people, come in the very next day and they go onto the stage and they play the Pops concerts for the second half. They play the 4th of July and they play many of the tours during the end of the summer. So essentially there's the Boston Pops, or there's the Boston Esplanade Orchestra, and then sometimes there's a mix of the two, and well, that's the short answer to a very complicated question.
You really touch on the fact here, though, that this group of artists is the least tangible of any artists or art people we know. I mean, it is a secret society, and a lot of it is cloaked in that whole union thing, which, you know, God forbid you should use more than two minutes of their time on a television. It costs you $25,000 a second or something. So we're very distant. Even when you go to a symphony or the pops, you don't know those musicians.
No.
But I mean, are they just like any other group of people, or is it more competitive? Is it, you know?
Well, I have a theory about it, is that the people who get to an orchestra like that are drawn from all the people who practice, and people who like to practice like to be alone.
Yeah.
They're hermit-like. They're antisocial. You take the top 0.02% of the most antisocial people, they're the ones that win the auditions. So they're in show business, but their personalities really aren't conducive to glad-handing the audience. They're really very shy people for the most part.
Well, is there a real lot of muscling, though, to get to first chair in the violin or the viola or something? Is
Not really. I mean, there's a really severe, and I talk about this in the book, is the pecking orders. You have to observe all of the rules of the baboon troupe, because if you don't, then, you know, it's not, there's repercussions to that. So there's a certain politeness and protocol that everyone observes. And yes, people do sometimes want to push to the head, but not everybody wants to be first chair. That's not always a good place to be, because sometimes you're the guy who gets blamed and gets fired. Sometimes it's a little safer to be in the back.
And so I loved all the rules about you cannot stop no matter what. And you tell this grotesque story about somebody throwing up and actually getting up and cleaning it up, and then what? You're not sure if it really happened, but it was good mythology anyway.
Well, it did happen, but I wasn't there, so I don't claim to know for sure. But everyone knows that story. It's part of the culture, that famous story.
So if a string breaks or something calamitous happens to an instrument or a key player, nothing stops?
No, never. We had a guy, I don't know, I honestly don't know if he died or not, but somebody had a problem during a Pops concert, and the paramedics came in with a thing, stretcher. We were playing the Academic Festival Overture. We did not stop. You don't stop, ever, ever, ever. So.
What was it like working under Arthur Fiedler? Was he fun? You talk about how he used to come by and brush the velvet on your bass, on your strap, and that was a thing you had with him. But
I just happened to be the last chair bass player. So
I know,
it
it didn't go any further than that. Yeah.
No, it did not. He was an interesting guy to work with. He was very old by the time I got there. I was 21, and he was, I think, 76. So the whole. Everybody knows Arthur Fiedler. He was a curmudgeon-y guy, but he really believed. He really believed in what he was doing, and that sold. And he got standing ovations every night. Was a programming genius, and it was just fun to work with him. I played the '76 concert on the 4th of July with him, and I'll never forget it.
The BSO, like every other medium out there, is striving to get younger consumers, younger viewers, younger people into those audiences on Saturday and Thursday nights. And they brought in a lot of this so-called new music, which a lot of the, stalwarts of the symphony and the season ticket holders, let's put it that way, are not so enamored of. Where do you stand on that?
You mean the contemporary music?
The contemporary music, yes.
I always get in trouble with this because
Go ahead.
There's a lot of people who believe in this, but I cover this in the book. I refer to this as boops meet music. Because as a player, I really did not like playing that stuff because it all started the same way. This is why you call it boop music. It starts with a boop, and there's a smeep up here. And the real problem I have with this music is you don't know when it's over.
You can't hum a tune either.
No, there's no tune. I once demanded that a composer write a piece for me, but I would play it if it had a tune. And the whole New England Conservatory composition department was in a dither as to what is a tune. And I said, well, if you don't know what a tune is, should you be in the music business? I was kind of curious about that.
But don't a lot of the musicians like it because it's different and it's, by the way, something you do have to rehearse?
You do have to rehearse it. I think it's personal taste like anything else. Some people really like it a lot. I find it to be, I like a tune, so I find this stuff to be a lot of hard work. But it's not, you shouldn't lump it all together. There are some contemporary pieces that are really fascinating and interesting, but if you want to hear a tune, obviously, they're not meeting that. But the beauty of playing that music is no one knows if you made a mistake.
Well, call me old-fashioned, Justin. I'm with you on this. Give me Beethoven every night. All right. Fun book. Real Men Don't Rehearse. Justin Locke.
Well, thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate it.